Drops.com.
Exposing the hate and exploring the love. This is the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
Only the free can tell the truth, then the truth can set you free. Only the free can tell the truth, then the truth can set you free.
Hey, out there, my monkey friends. How are we doing tonight? This is the 100th Monkey Radio with Tom and Ramon, and we're looking at, August 10th, 2013. Man, Ramon, how's things going over there in Japan?
Sorry about that. I had my mic muted. They're going pretty good. Let's see. Yesterday I went to a Caribbean festival, as I was telling you offline, so that was nice. Got to interact with different kinds of people and eat some different kinds of food. So that's always nice. But it's been extremely, extremely hot here. So for those of you out there, if you hear the fan, I apologize, but I refuse to turn it off.
Oh man, I'll tell you, it's been this last couple of weeks has been quite interesting for me. I think I finally got I got my surfboard out, so to say. I've been talking about the energy and the way this energy's been just going absolutely nuts this year, as far as just stuff building, and I think I got my surfboard out, and now I finally figured out how to ride these waves as they're coming through. And I found a new balance for myself, so I'm feeling pretty good about the way things are progressing for me personally. Good stuff.
Cool.
Good stuff.
It's really cool. So let me give out the numbers here. If you want to call in, it's 213-233-3998. And also, for those of you first time listening to us, you can check out our website, www.the100thmonkeyradio.com. And we also do a pre-recorded show besides this show that we do every week. So we try to stay a little busy.
Oh, yeah, we definitely do that.
Yeah, and you can also find us on Facebook. And let's see, really briefly, there's these three girls that someone did a poster for it, and I don't know if you saw that. I put that up on the website. And one of them, she created, I'm looking it up now, she created a battery that runs on, a flashlight that runs on the heat of your hand. She is 15, I believe. I'm finding it now. Yeah, her name is, let's see. Yeah, Anna Makosinski, chopping up her name. And she's 15 years old. And then there was another girl named Alif Billing, and she's 16 years old, and she turned bananas into environmentally friendly plastic. And then there's Esha Kari, and she invented the world's fastest mobile phone battery charger. So it's just, and she's 17 years old. So three
kids.
Three amazing girls that were able to do something that is helping,
we periodically talk about these new kids that are coming in, Ramon, and stuff that they're bringing with them as they're incarnating here. It's just, our future is, there's an example right there. Here we got some teenagers bringing out shit that we have struggled with getting past so many barriers in the past, and now, wow, we've got it going on, man.
Yeah, and I mean, these girls just used stuff that was out there and did their research, and boom, they just got it. So, for those of you you know, I'm sure most of the listeners here would never say that, but sometimes I hear people say, this new generation. It's like, you don't know what you're talking about when you say that. This new generation is on fire, and they're different.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely.
So we have a person we had before on the pre-recorded show, which you can check out. And
Yeah, definitely.
quite an amazing person. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, we've got Rashmi Khilnani with us tonight. She wrote 3 books that are absolutely knockout. She wrote Divine Mother Speaks, Buddha Speaks, and Shiva Speaks. And, well, I'll read her bio here real quick, and then we'll get right into it. Rashmi Khilnani was born in Chandigarh, India, and spent the first 6 years of her life in Cairo, Egypt. She went on to study and teach with world-renowned avatars, gurus, and teachers, and became a specialist in energy medicine. She is on the forefront of bringing the ancient mystery school teachings of India, Egypt, Tibet, and China, as well as the teachings of the Essenes into current time, and making these wisdoms simple and accessible to people at all levels of soul journeying. Rashmi teaches and practices several healing modalities and has taught Reiki Masters, doctors, scientists, and others from many walks of life the secrets of the mystery school teachings. She is a global metaphysical teacher, urban shaman, international lecturer, artist, seminar leader, and TV personality. Her website is www.rashmikhilnani.com. That's RashmiKhilnani.com. Rashmi, welcome back to the 100th Monkey Radio, our live version.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for having me once again on your show in such quick succession. Big hello to Tom and Ramon.
Oh, there's just, you carry so much wisdom with you that I know that in the 2-hour show we already did, we just barely scratched the surface of what you have to share. So it's our pleasure and honor to have you back.
Thank you. Thank you so much to our listeners as well for connecting to their higher selves now in shows like this to help to reconnect to the inner wisdom that each and every one of us carries within us.
Beautiful. So we kind of wanted to get into the Shiva Speaks book, which isn't actually out in hard copy yet, but is out in Kindle, correct?
Kindle and Barnes & Noble Nook. And will be out as of January 2014. I've signed the contract a few weeks ago.
Ah, fantastic. So there is light at the end of the tunnel, finally.
Yeah.
So just for those listeners out here on our Truth Frequency show that may not have heard of you and who you are, would you give us a quick background on where you come from and what got you into doing all the different amazing things that you're doing in the world now?
Wow, I don't know where to begin.
A laugh is a good spot.
Well, I've done all sorts of things in my life, and I decided to go into the inner world through having, been a success as a jet-set person and having homes and business across the globe with my former husband. And I realized there was more to life than just, what people consider the outer success. So I studied meditation and then went on to becoming a teacher of meditation. And then coming to zero, leaving all those homes and that lifestyle, and choosing to be very simple for a while, to go within, and to what I call, the zero energy, the nothing energy. And then I went on to becoming a healer, and continued to study energy medicine in all the different Reiki energy mastery streams that cover shamanic Reiki, 3 types of Egyptian Reiki mastery, and original 7 degrees, Sui Reiki, Karuna Reiki, and so on, and then many other modalities such as rebirthing, advanced sound wave energy therapy, which uses audible and inaudible sound.
Uh-oh.
And we have the audible sound coming through now, as we were talking about sound wave energy therapy. Yeah, so... and then from being a psychic surgeon and working with all these modalities, particularly the advanced sound wave energy therapy and the energy mastery, the Ascended Masters, the archangels, and many beings started coming through for individual sessions, morphogenic healing, and during initiation when I was facilitating others becoming, healers in different levels, because everybody's a healer, but you just help to give them the attunements to reconnect them to those energies. And as a result of that, then I went on to deepening my path each time and going to zero each time and choosing to go to nothingness on various other levels at a later stage, which led to my having invasive breast cancer 7 years ago, and then letting go of my current partner at the time, who was a very spiritual guy, and making a friend again, and then selling my flat in London, and then coming to serve America and the world, but particularly in the States, and making a film called I, God with spiritual leaders of America, and channeling these 3 books in very quick succession.
They did come out very quickly, didn't they? How long did it take for all 3 books to manifest?
Well, the first one was within 21 days. I was told to create a sacred space and bring another energy master healer, a Babaji devotee friend of mine called Amravati, who would transcribe, and I just spoke out the book in 21 sessions.
Wow.
While I was selling my flat in London. And that was it. So, and the other books were also pretty effortless, but you had to create a space, and at that time, then everything else got taken away, and, I was like in a bubble of energy and couldn't do much else in those spaces.
You've taken quite a leap of faith into the world as far as giving up all those worldly things and just going where the wind blows you.
Yeah, I find that every time I've given up the things that no longer serve or followed my inner higher guidance and my heart, in my path, which is very much for the last 20, 25 years been very strong service to humanity, and this was conscious, I didn't have to leave my kingdom of homes, etc. And then 7 years ago, I didn't have to choose to experience, disease and experience. I had helped facilitate in the healing of many with cancer and so on, and then I got the disease. But in a way, it was almost semi-conscious, because I asked Mahavatar Babaji, Lord Shiva, to step up my path and give me as accelerated transformation as possible, to act as a beacon and a light, as like a pioneering energy, to help others as a way shower as they would wake up in the future,
Right.
And as you know, your show, I love the name of the show, The 100 Monkey, which is what I really teach a lot about, that once, and Babaji talks about this, that just a few are needed to carry the fire of love, light, and simplicity across the globe into this new golden age.
So, I know that I've actually faced this myself, and you actually did it to a much greater extent than what I did, voluntarily anyways. What was that process like to decide to give up everything and just allow universe to guide you at that point? I mean, what was it that made you say, okay, it's time to get rid of all these things and go?
Well, as you know, the key word, Tom, you used is process. These things are never linear. It's never one thing, and it's usually not in 1 minute either, because that's the romantic notion that the mind latches onto. But it was a process. I realized I had too many homes. I had too much money. I had, we were helping people, but I wanted to do a lot more. And my husband felt that I should stay in the grihast, which means the householder stage, and I could still be enlightened within that stage, which is what our Vedas teach us. But I felt there was too much complexity, and I wanted to go to simplicity. And I think my past lives were triggering, where I had been a monk, where I had been a priest,
right,
or a priestess in an Egyptian temple and so on, and gone through very strict initiations. But in this lifetime, we're all going through them in just normal day life,
Right.
And through my spiritual path where I was teaching, when you teach others, you learn so much, and you learn that there is more to learn. And each student or each experience teaches us so much. It's never a one-way thing that happens. And same with the healing, Each healing that you help in the facilitation of, because ultimately the person's healing themselves, you're just a mirror. And basically you hold this energy of nothingness. So I've talked a lot in the last 30 radio shows over the last 40 days in America as people are getting so excited about these 3 books, the Buddha Speaks to the Buddha Nature Within, The Divine Mother Speaks, The Healing of the Human Heart, and Shiva Speaks, Conversations with Mahavatar Babaji, that this nothingness energy is not to be frightened of, that, it is the bedrock of our inner reality from which the manifest world spring forth. And as we are birthing a new reality, we have to let go and come to 0 point or nothingness, or letting go of the things that no longer serve. And
Right.
why not choose to do it more gracefully and easily, I'm sure you're seeing that in your life
Exactly.
right now.
Yeah, with so many people out there, at least the ones that, especially the ones that I have direct contact with and working with, one of the issues that are, this has probably been throughout all time as people are going through a similar process, but their purpose, their calling in life. What is their calling in life? And they hear so many different suggestions on what it could be. Is there anything you can speak on to that, on how to ensure somebody or to reassure somebody how to make that decision for themselves? Or I'm really slaughtering this question, but I think you get the gist of what I'm asking.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that it's never an external thing, and it's never something somebody else can tell you. No matter, even if somebody comes to me, I tell them, I can read tarot cards and I can be an intuitive and this, that, and the other, but it's not up to me. All I can do is read their soul energy for them, and that too, if there is total allowance, and they reveal that, because there's free will, etc. And that is just reading their inner world from their higher self perspective, because we have 2 perspectives. The personality self of each and every individual on earth right now is pushing for one agenda, which is the agenda of the mind, which doubts, which fears, which divides, which rules, which manipulates, which controls, which judges, makes right, wrong, and sticks in this duality suffering game. And then there is the agenda of the higher self, or the soul energy. And that's a very different agenda. That's one of unity, of oneness, of individuality, but honoring the other, even if the other is opposing one's point of view. It's a more open energy. It's an energy that is very creative, but it is also very consciously cooperative. And so these 2 are usually at loggerheads with each other. And for 26,000 years, the personality self has been dominant in many and most, with few exceptions. And now the time has come for the heart, for the heart and the higher self energy. Does that help to answer that question?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I think that I know that for me, for my own personal process and finding that place where I'm comfortable with the choices that I make, and I know that I'm following my path. It was all internal. Absolutely, every bit of it was internal.
It has to be. It has to be. And also, it brings us back to this fear of the unknown,
right.
Fear of the within, fear of silence.
That's the big one right there.
Fear of stopping, fear of not knowing. Let's just take a deep breath, guys. Fear of not knowing. I don't know everything. Like right now, this particular project in the States has come to a sudden end. I was supposed to stay an extra 18 days, and that's come to an end, and it's a long little drama that happened. But, I'm flexible and flowing, and it feels right now to bring this to an end and then go on the plane and go to England. And I'm not quite sure what the next mission is. I'm not yet been given my higher self instructions, and it might just be to be, or it might be to go and snorkel, or it might be to continue the radio. I just don't know. Right. And it's just each day, I take each day and each moment, and I follow the right action based on the feeling body. So for those of us that are scared of our feelings, and most of us are, we have to take the baby steps on, not feeling scared of feeling our feelings and beginning to use our intuition and that. How does it feel? And moment to moment, there's no black and white answer. There's no formula.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
You know.
What I've noticed for me is that once I take a one step for one thing, it leads into other things. For example, this radio show is a prime example. I took the first step to start writing a book, and then from there, I wanted to find out more about what I was writing. So I went to a conference, and then I met Tom, and then boom, I'm here in radio show. So it's you think you're going one direction, and you find yourself somewhere completely different that you never would have expected.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
See, the mind wants to know every single outcome day before yesterday.
Right.
But now we are in the new frequency, and this new frequency is of the heart energy. And if our listeners just allow themselves during the show to feel the show, to feel the energy behind the words, to just go with the energy from their heart to our heart, to the energy of the heart energy, then it's a very different thing to interpreting what this discussion, which ultimately is of a wisdom energy, is trying to, is triggering in humanity within free will, and so the heart is quite happy to flow. It's quite happy to allow. It's quite happy to embrace. It's quite happy to see the new patterns emerging from within nothingness, and go, okay, this feels right, and it doesn't even have to make language out of that. It
Right.
just moves in that direction, just as nature does. Nature doesn't think, now I'll grow another leaf, now I'll shed some leaves, etc.
Right. Oh, so, there's so many people that, well, I know that one stage of the path for quite a few people as they start to open up is they really look out in the world around them, and that polarity flares in their face. They see where their heart is, where their compassion and their love is and everything. And then they look out in the world and they see, the 911s and the Boston marathons and, all those events like that happen in the world around them, all the crap that's going on out there. How do we deal with that on this path? I mean, that's something and it gets so blaring in our face. I mean, it's plastered all over the media.
Yeah.
People are talking about it all over the place. How do we deal with that kind of stuff?
Well, we have choice. So for people like myself, I don't watch television. I don't read the newspaper. Now, that doesn't mean sometime I might not switch it on, There are times when I might. But generally speaking, I don't. And, I'm sending energy and love, and I might come across something just through being somewhere or watching a snippet of TV because I'm downstairs in the lobby and it's on, or somebody tells me the news. And then I'll send energy to that place. And say if I was in a chaotic situation, then you just deal with it in the moment. And it's extremely amazing how one does. But if you think about it, like everybody's going through their own lessons and their own dramas. And ultimately, even Einstein said, this world and this reality is a total illusion. It's a holographic reality. It's malleable. It's not fixed. And the scientists have realized as well that the experiment moves based on, if you want to say orange juice is bad for you, then that will be the result.
Right.
That was the initial statement, and vice versa. So, where do we want to focus? Are we ready to step back? We have to step back and step in. We have to create a little sacred space, and you can even do that in a prison. You can, actually. Mahatma Gandhi did, Many, many great beings did do that. They could create a sacred space anywhere. And you just strengthen your own vertical plane, your connection to the higher self and to the center of the planet, and you ground. And when you're grounded, then you can, like a martial arts expert, you're much more able to deal with energies rather than just being up in the head and saying, oh my God, I'm responsible for world peace and this, that, and the other. whatever we focus on, we make it bigger.
Right.
So if we want peace in the world, we have to begin with ourselves. And we go, oh, well, I know that, but that doesn't work. No, you may know that intellectually, but it has to become a practice. So, there are very reactive situations coming for each and every one of us that aren't as dramatic as, terrorist attacks or whatever. They're happening every minute, aren't they? Like really jarring human relationships and various things for each and every one of us. I've had all of this week. And then, the question is, for the sake of harmony, do I shut up or do I fight?
Right.
Isn't it? That's the question that we're all having. And shall I cut and end this relationship, or shall I try and fix it?
Exactly.
But really now, fixing isn't going to work that well. I mean, obviously being trigger happy is not a good idea. But if we practice some form of inner quietness, some form of reconnection to the intuitive body, to the gut instinct, to the wisdom within, to saying, okay, I don't know, God help me, or I don't know, Archangel Raphael, please come through, or God, give me a sign, or give me a symbol, or I'm going to give this 5-6 days, and then I'm going to come back from a centered position to get into peaceful conflict resolution.
We're coming up on our first break here, Rashmi. We will be right back, guys, after these commercials with the 100th Monkey Radio and Tom and Ramon with Rashmi Khilnani. Welcome back to the 100th Monkey Radio with Tom and Ramon. We have Rashmi Khilnani with us tonight. And Rashmi, I want to dip into Shiva Speaks a little bit now, and along the same lines of what we ended up that last segment with about the polarity in the world and how people are to deal with it in these times. Did Babaji have much to say in Shiva Speaks about this?
About polarities?
Yeah.
Well, he teaches truth, simplicity, and love. And so in simplicity, you just, he teaches very much about chanting the mantra, Maha Mantra, Om Namah Shivaya, which means I love myself, I honor myself, God, Goddess dwell within me, as me. But it has many, many other meanings as well. It's very deep. And these sounds and the energy behind them help to calm down the mind, and help to calm down the thoughts, and help to simplify, the inner world. And through that, one is able to navigate no matter what comes at one. I don't know if that makes sense. So he talks about karma yoga, which is the yoga of action for this age. He says that's very important. Keep moving, keep acting, keep doing work. The yoga of work, the yoga of action. But as you're doing that, say you're washing dishes or whatever, then you keep chanting that mantra instead of worrying and doubting and thinking and analyzing. And that usually is between these polarities that happens, isn't it? That the mind goes seesawing between the polarities inside in these processes of analyzing, etc.
Right. So just for you guys out there listening, the book that we're talking about is a channeled work that came through Rashmi and from Babaji. And for those of our listeners out there who may not know who Babaji is, would you give us a brief description of who he is?
Sure. Well, Babaji is not a he or a she. It's Maha-avataric energy. Maha means great. Avatar means direct emanation of divinity or source into human body or bodies for the raising of consciousness. He's the Christ yogi. He's the ascended master who's here to oversee 7 billion plus moving into unity consciousness, Christ consciousness, the new age, the golden age, it's the Shiva principle. So it destroys the lower or transforms the lower to come into the higher frequencies. And Babaji manifested in his last official body on earth as an 18-year-old youth, not born of a woman, in a cave in Hare Khan, in the foothills of the Himalayan mountains, where he's come and gone in many different bodies through the eons.
And now he is Babaji is quite an interesting entity. There's so many people on this planet who are now connecting with that energy.
Yes.
And one thing that it was a little difficult for me to wrap my mind about was the way one divinity, one entity could be in communication with so many different people at the same time.
Well, he can be in several bodies at the same time, and when that body so-called died, he let everybody do all the different ceremonies. They put dry fruits and many things, and it's Mahasamadhi. So it's not, the body isn't burnt of a great being. And he allowed all that to happen. And then after all that happened, they found that the mud, the dirt over him, it just caved in. So basically he dematerialized the body. He just kept the corpse body, whatever you want to call it. It wasn't really for his devotees to do the ceremonies, Right. And then he was teaching Leonard physical immortality, because Leonard Orr, my friend and colleague, loved Babaji and went there to find out, and met many immortal beings in India, etc. And then he so-called died in that body at the young age of 35 or whatever it was. But then he wrote Leonard a letter and said, "I'll meet you in Nepal." And he was in another body. And now Leonard is going to India with a group, and I met him in Charlottesville, and he came to the book opening of my book at Barnes & Noble, very excited. So that was wonderful for me, because I didn't know Babaji in the body in this lifetime. Even though I was in India at that time, I was not connected to these things. But I know Babaji transcendentally, and he's appeared to me in different forms, as a beggar, as a taxi driver, as a Frenchman in a flight, and so on. And so to have Leonard say that, how much he loved the book was really wonderful. But that's what Babaji does. He appears and he's not always got the same face or the same body, and sometimes he could appear as a woman as well, and sometimes transcendentally, as he used to in my studio in London.
Yeah, I've had entities speak to me through other people at times while the people were completely unaware. It's an interesting phenomenon to experience, and when you do experience it, it's unmistakable that knowing comes along with those types of communications.
Absolutely.
I'm just curious how you experience that communication. Does it come through clairaudiently for you, or does it come through as so many times the stuff that I get comes in a complete picture, a complete package, a complete knowing in an instant, and then it's left to me to use my own vocabulary and experience to flesh it out and be able to describe what came through.
Yeah, well, it's always different in the sense that, as I said, I met him physically as different people, and then I've usually realized it was Babaji afterwards, Like while the event was happening, I might not have known exactly, though I was paying a lot of attention.
Exactly.
But then later I went, oh my God, that was Babaji, And then also transcendentally, like sort of light body, but some form of human body at the top of my staircase. I had 13-foot ceilings in my flat with a spiral staircase, and just appearing on the top there, like this amazing, white light, but it had a human form of some sort. And it wasn't super solid. I mean, it's just beyond description, really.
Right.
And then nowadays, it's no longer a separation. I sometimes long for that, seeing him like that, as in the studio. But it's become much more subtle because Babaji and I are one, and the Om Namah Shivaya principle is that everything is Shiva. And so now it's much more like a chat in my mind, and feeling energy. And when when in the channeling of the book, it was like creating sacred space, creating nothingness space, and then asking a few questions or bringing a topic in like love, and then meditating, chanting, and then just being effortless, and the energy comes through, and like you were sharing with me just now, I'm able to translate the energy very quickly into, I hope, flowing nice words, that are simple for people to understand what the energy is saying about love, for example.
Yeah, I found I'm in the third book now. I'm in Shiva Speaks now, and
Okay.
I found reading the first two was not quite as intense as reading Shiva Speaks. But
understatement.
Because in the other two books, I was able to sit down and I'd read for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
And with Shiva Speaks, it's like I read for 15 or 20 minutes, and then
Yeah.
I just have to set the book down and chew on things for a while.
Yeah. Well, I recommend to most people that, I was amazed. I was on a show the other day with a wonderful lady called Hillary Rameau.
Hillary
Raymond.
Oh, very
Yes.
nice. Very nice.
Beautiful lady, blonde,
Yes.
beautiful lady. And I immediately just from intuition said, I'd like to do a monthly show with you, co-hosting with me, called The Goddess Show. And she just went, yes.
Oh, nice.
But she was so excited about the 3 books, and she said she'd read them one after the other in very quick succession. And I was just like, wow, I couldn't do that with those books because they're so intense. Actually, they're all quite intense. But the Shiva book is definitely the most intense. So what I recommend, even with the Divine Mother Speaks book, is that people just read a tiny part at a time, or pick it up and ask a question and open a certain page and read a little part,
Right.
And it's the same with all 3, but whatever works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Babaji's had much to say about the coming age of light.
Yes, well, he, it's like he's beyond time and space. So, it's interesting because this book is channeling him speaking now, as in, pretty recent now. It's maybe
Right.
a year or so since it came out, well, since I wrote it, and now. And it's just like a little update on his official teachings at that time in the Hera Khan body in the 70s, early 80s that he spoke. And used to give satsang to people from all over the world. So, he, it's more an energy than even teachings, if you know what I mean. Don't you feel that when you have you connected to a picture of Babaji, for example? There are so many books of Babaji out there from writers and people that met him in that particular body, and also the previous one, which is the Kriya Yoga Babaji, from Autobiography of a Yogi, that many, many of our listeners have read. It's a classical book.
Yeah, I'm the energy's been awesome. That's the only way I can describe what it has been this year, because I'm in constant awe of every day getting up to a new world. And it's I don't know. I'm very optimistic and very excited about our future, even though I can't see around the corner myself. It's definitely is. We definitely have an interesting time coming, and
Our future is happening in this moment of now, really.
Yeah, I definitely I understand the yuga cycles and the way linear time works here, and the divine's overlaid on it, and I understand that linearly we're actually moving into a different age and a different time, and the social consciousness is turning like a battleship, nice and slow, but.
And very fast at the same time.
Yes. It is definitely turning, and I don't know anybody who can not look out in the world and not agree with me on that. So,
like when you read Shiva Speaks, how do you feel that sort of energy can, in this now moment, help you vis-a-vis what you've just shared about the current energy as you perceive it? How would you say that those two? Is there some usefulness in that? Practically speaking.
One of the biggest things especially if you're an energy worker or aspire to be an energy worker or along those lines, one of the most important things that I have found is the need to be able to ground balance.
Absolutely.
Ground with a good solid base instead of just touching the ground and then being buffeted off into the yonder by a wind that comes by. Being able to have a good solid grounding. And reading this book, there's many layers and many depths and many different levels to grounding. The depth of it is remarkable, how deep you can go just in that process of grounding. And doing this book actually has helped me to get into more deeper layers of that grounded sensation, that grounded beingness of myself.
That's really interesting. And Ramon, has Ramon had a chance to look at it yet?
No, I haven't, because my issue always is that I need a physical book, because when I try to read on the internet, my eyes start hurting after 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm the same.
And so I always need a physical book.
Yeah.
But I was going to ask you, because, when people write a book, no matter what kind of book they write, they put so much of themselves into it, and energetically speaking. And so sometimes I hear some writers say that they don't like when other people edit their book. So I was just wondering on that level, because hearing from, you and Tom how much energy this book has, did you feel that might have been an issue, or you just had the right person working?
That's a lovely question you're asking, Ramon, because this book had its own energy, and because it's a Shiva book, at every step there's been a lot of Shiva energy. And that is ecstatic, but there's also intensity, and then there's also a lot of, cutting of that which is not of the highest, and challenge. So I have a wonderful editor called John Nelson, and I find it hysterical that we have to edit a channel book, really, because some of this energy is coming from very high source energy, so it's quite funny in a way. But, of course, that is a relevant thing. And originally this book was my story with Leonard also. It was called Babaji, Spiritual Princess and an American Yogi. And then there was another part that was about Babaji's teachings. And then it changed around, and the Leonard part was taken out of it because, Leonard was flip-flopping about what he wanted to do. And so I wrote the whole book out. I mean, I channeled it. And so the first part became my story, which my editor was very keen. I tell part of my story as a channel. So I don't know how Tom felt about, that part of that book. But I think that a lot of people that have read my first two books are really pleased and excited about this, because people do want to know who the channel is and what their channeling process is, etc., And like I wanted to know all about Barbara Hanclaw and Barbara Marciniak when I was so excited about the Pleiadian agenda and, Marciniak's books, Earth, and all those books. And one could never get enough information about them, I felt. And yet I didn't really want to expose my own story because it's so sacred and personal and for many reasons, But I think it was a good thing that he pushed me a little bit to tell that part. And when I went to Hawaii, to Maui, Haleakala, where he lives, there was a lot of things that happened and a huge process. And then I had to move off the mountain and go to the beach, and and then I was watching him toing and froing and getting so excited with the book and becoming a Babaji devotee, and then going through his processes, and then we had to clear his stuff and any other stuff around my stuff to continue the process. And then finally, I said, I didn't even look at that last edit you did, because Babaji said, just let him calm down, he's going to come back. And this will be the pattern. And so it was in the end. And so literally at the airport, I got the packet, and it was the way it was meant to be. And then there was a certain amount of work with the whole thing, because it was a Babaji process. It was unbelievable, really.
Yeah. The other part is that what I always find hilarious is that, growing up in Christianity and being around friends that had other belief systems, it seems that we're bred in not bred is the wrong word, but we're raised to believe that these masters and these higher beings are going to come on a golden throne and are going to have their devotion. Yeah, and what I find hilarious is that whenever I've met so many different people, and I've experienced myself, that when you meet either a being that okay, that's a different kind of person, like you're saying, they're either taxi drivers, a homeless person, just an everyday
energy.
Yeah, and I just find it hilarious because everybody's always expecting that they're gonna come on this white golden horse with these with these big wings, and that never happens. It's always like the homeless guy who gives you this amazing insight.
Well, Babaji did the whole thing, because in the beginning he was just with a tiny little cloth, and everybody said, you are the King of Kings, you are the great, divinity of the universe, and you taught Jesus, Moses, Elijah, what are you doing? And he would give amazing answers about, how, he said, you're in saffron robes and you got an entourage and you got an ashram and you're a guru, and people are going to attack you and all kinds of stuff. He said, with me, a lot of people won't even know who I am. They won't even recognize the divinity. They'll just pass me by. And I'll just be ordinary, and so I won't get any shtick,
Right.
So it takes a lot of courage for someone like myself to put forth such material. It takes a lot of courage, because even on one of your shows, there was a comment from somebody on the YouTube show that you put out of my last show, saying she's just talking from her intellectual center, and it's just a whole lot of words, and it's got no energy in it. And I spent a little time processing that, actually, and I thought, where am I at with this right now? And the whole of what my being is about is though I come from an intellectual family where my dad was the editor of a very large newspaper in India, the Times of India newspaper, and quite a powerful guy, that in this work it's very energetic, it's all to do with energy, and it's to do with the energy, not just sprouting out a whole load of knowledge, And if you read those books, Tom, it isn't like highfalutin, esoteric stuff, really, is it? It's being decoded to simplicity.
Right. It is very, very easy to understand what's put down here.
And the energy, the energy comes through, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And the same with my voice, it does bring those energies. So what happens is when you become a clear mirror, when you become more heartfelt, then the reflection is very perfect. And so whoever's looking in that mirror, if they're being in their intellect, they will project that on you. If they're in feeling that they're beautiful, they'll project beauty onto you, and so on. And that's why Babaji kept saying, I'm no one, I am nothing, I am nowhere. And at the same time, he said he was, he knew that he was everything as well.
Right.
And I feel that I embody a lot of these energies. It means that I'm not perfect. There is an I, operating for purposes of bridging 3 to 5th and beyond dimensions within and without, and that if people pick on the word or pick on the outer thing or pick on a picture of me, or then they miss the boat, Whereas for all the people that are across the airwaves have been so full of this Shiva energy now. And I'm so excited to see how excited so many of the radio show hosts that are major leaders in their own right and other people are picking up these energies. And my mom said to me today in a conversation from New Delhi, she said, but darling, these people, many of them are Christians, many of them are Jewish people. Why are they getting excited about the Shiva energy? And I said, Mommy, this is universal energy. This is not religion. Just as if somebody talks to me about the Christ energy or Jesus, as we do in India as well, there's a reverence for this energy of Jesus and so on. So it's non-denominational, really. And it was a good question she asked, and she was amazed that just ordinary people were connecting to the...
Hello?
Yeah.
No, I wonder what.
Hey, that was weird. Yeah, it's I find it amazing because as far as like some people on not to dwell too much on that, but some people on YouTube, I think that's just their job is to go and comment because what I was telling Tom before.
I would disable comments because it just stops other people because people, even the intelligent, spiritual people, I find, if 100 people press like on Facebook, then they automatically love it. And if something is amazing and nobody's pressed like, it bypasses them. And the time will come when that won't work anymore. But at the moment, we're in this interim phase where that still plays such a big role. And it's such a pity because people are so desperate for some wisdom and a reconnection to their within, and they will just totally miss that because somebody's decided to be disruptive,
Right. There's definitely those, we call them trolls.
Yeah, right.
The world we live in, what, no matter where it was created from, it's an observation that I've made that there are definitely those out there that do nothing but go around and try to hack and slash, especially the ones that are putting out the really good information. Yeah. It's
natural. The polarity pops up,
Yeah.
And that's why the listeners, use your discernment, use your own, not judgment, which is a closed mind and a closed heart.
Right.
Because if we say we know everything, we're not going to learn anything, I mean, in this show, I'm learning from Momon, I'm learning from Tom, I'm learning even from the frequency of the listeners. There's a morphogenic energy, even in the archives, that gets created.
Right.
Of an interplay between our attention plus intention equaling to manifestation. And the title of this show, The 100 Monkey Radio, that is powerful, powerful stuff.
Yeah, well, we're about to go off into our second break now, and this is just flying by. As expected, actually. You are listening to Rashmi Khilnani with Tom and Ramon and the 100th Monkey Radio on the Truth Frequency Radio Network. And we will see you guys after these messages from the quantum.
Care about what you heard while the rumors are flying. Don't believe a word. Got one thing to tell you, I've got to say. Give it a chance, I don't push it away. It's a bad reputation.
My faith in destiny is all I need to prevail.
This is the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
Then the truth can set you free. Only the free can tell the truth. Then the truth can set you free.
Welcome back to the 100th Monkey Radio Show with Tom and Ramon. And we have Rashmi Khilnani with us. Hopefully, you guys are feeling her energy as me and Tom are. The amazing thing that I always find is when you have an heartfelt conversation with a stranger, I always find those to be some of the most important and sometimes pivotal moments in at least in my own personal life, and I'm sure Tom feels the same way. You meet this stranger maybe on the bus, and you start talking, and they might just say something that's just what you needed to hear, or you weren't looking at it that way. And sometimes I feel like the best advice always comes from a stranger, and I always wonder why it is that.
Well, nobody's really a stranger because everybody is us, And now, particularly, I don't know if you guys are noticing, but almost every conversation one gets into, can be seen as some sort of synergistic pattern, where I've literally said to people, can you say that again? Because it's almost like, I'm going to see a clairvoyant or I'm talking to some other high energy channel.
Right.
In some sort of co-channeling
Yeah.
conversation, but it's just one of my Omni family here that is just saying, like the guy said yesterday, he said, he'll be back. He said, because the pattern always changes. Now, he didn't know the dramas I've just been through, but he just said it, and it was just the universe speaking to me, and also the love of this Omni family telling me something, that no matter how something seems like it's coming to an end, maybe there'll be a new chapter within a new pattern,
Right.
within the same story. So it just is so beautiful. But I think, particularly in the West and in America now, it's a huge problem even for the spiritually advanced to understand what is this going within mean, because a lot of the spiritual leaders are getting so busy. They don't have time, and they don't have time to breathe and this, that, and to just do those things in, times that we slot for those things. Well, that's great, but we have to now learn to breathe moment to moment in everyday life, particularly when chaos begins, to ground, as Thomas so beautifully shared, in a deeper and deeper way, because unless we ground, there's going to be no money, there's going to be no time, there's going to be no body, there's going to be no health. There's going to be no nothing, and then go deeper into this within space, even in action. So that's what the Vedas and people like Babaji, who's not a person, teach us, that as Jesus walked the earth and taught people and whatever he did, there was a huge part not doing anything. The essence of him, there was nothing. It was in that deep space of pure beingness and pure witnessing and pure non-doership. And then it becomes so powerful, the doing part. Does that make any sense?
That makes a lot of sense. It kind of reminds me of when you know or meet certain people that it's like just seeing them makes you smile. You don't even know why, but it just makes you smile to see them.
And you're one of those people, Ramon, for me.
Thank you.
Because you have this pure, sweet, childlike energy. And this is the energy of your heart. And Tom's got this lovely sort of grounded heart energy, which is focused. And is that right, Tom? Focused energy?
Yeah, definitely.
And Ramon's is, it's got this lovely divine feminine energy in it. So in every masculine energy now, when we allow this divine feminine energy, it's so beautiful. And so, you both have it in different ways, but it's the heart energy. And that's why I'm doing another 2-hour show with you. The other day, I won't mention the name of the show. It's like the top show that I could have been on, and many books would have sold in 5 seconds, etc. But, the pre-production questions were asked in such a, it was just like, I felt like I was being attacked almost,
Right.
And so my heart shut, my channel shut, my frequency shut. And then I said to Babaji, but that shouldn't have been messed up, because that wisdom could have gotten out to all those people. I mean, for me, financially, it doesn't mean anything really, or none of that. But I just said to Babaji, we missed an opportunity there because I messed up. And he said, not at all. Forget about it. It's not a numbers game. And so this is the answer to one of the questions I think Tom had asked at the beginning, that when there's so much attack and so on in the world, how can we begin to open our hearts and our intuition? It feels unsafe. It's moment to moment, and it's so well described in the Divine Mother Speaks book, The Healing of the Human Heart, when to open the heart and when to keep it protected, because the channeling space, etc. You guys have created a space in which I can share like this. Not every radio show host can do that, because they're not coming from the same frequency, essentially. And that's not a judgment thing. It's just the way it is,
Right.
So
I'd like to... You have something more on that, Ramon?
No, I was just gonna say that I just always find it amazing when that happens between two people, or even it's even more amazing when two people you don't know are talking, let's say in a coffee shop, and what they're talking about makes you feel, relaxed and comfortable around them, even though they never interact with you. I find that even more amazing.
Because everything is one energy, you see, and you're energy sensitive, and so you're able to enjoy that. And similarly, there can be situations that you find quite jarring, right?
Yeah.
And, so that's why it's so important for us all to unplug from time to time from the so-called world. Because we're all mesmerized with what will the world do, where is the world going, how is the world behaving, why is the change not happening in the world. Well, the whole of the 2012 thing and all the gates and all the things, it's all an internal process for each individual. And it's a free will process for each individual. And it's not a whole world event. It becomes a collective world event, but it begins with each individual. And where it's going to go changes moment to moment. But if everybody just keeps looking on the outside and seeing the 3D reality of war, pharmaceuticals, corporate, greed, we're not going to shift nothing, no matter what energy comes and hits us, no matter how many Babajis sit in front of us or whatever.
Right.
It will do diddly squat, nothing will happen. So we have to, each of us, as Tom goes within and finds his center and shifts and alchemizes whatever it is of many lifetimes, of the moment, whatever, and Ramon and Rashmi, and each of us does this, then the pattern shifts in the collective and we start seeing massive change. But the trick is not to overdo the focusing on the outside.
Right. So I want to read something out of your book in the out of the Shiva Speaks book in the Love Is chapter that I think will shine some light on a lot of the things that we've been talking about tonight. Love is not a concept of the mind, and ultimately love cannot be truly understood by the mind. The mind can act as a bridge at times to the understanding of love, but the truth is that love is experiential and ultimately beyond definition. I would like it to be known that if what I have just taught you here now sounds very paradoxical, it is because it is paradoxical. This is very often the nature of universal truth. If you choose, however, to become very clever with its definitions and you decide to continue to stubbornly stay in the realm of your mind, as per free will, Lord Shiva will allow you to step into the arena of cause and effect. Now, we've talked a lot about the different polarities that are out there and the struggles that people are going through, and with the shifts that they're personally processing, and it's that paradox that there's that it continues to I suppose rear its ugly head, and cast, and it has a tendency to cast confusion into the mix of things for us when we haven't got to that Well, if we haven't got to that place where we understand the paradox?
Yeah, because the nature of the mind is to find an answer, black and white,
Right.
A method. I mean, healing is beyond methodology, and the books that hit the New York best-selling authors list, generally speaking, how to do this, how to do that, how to reach nirvana, this method, that method. Now, I'm not, it was what it was. This is all 3D paradigm, and we have to honor that. We have to honor the polarity game, but we're coming out of that game now. We're done with that game, And for those of us that are not going to do that, we're going to be kicking and screaming. So with the mind can't understand paradox. It's either it's this way or it's this way. It's this plus this equals that, or that plus that equals that. It's linear, it's logical, it's inflexible. But the current reality and the deeper part of reality is malleable. It can be changeable. It is flowing. The river doesn't, when we draw, when we used to draw rivers as kids and all, sometimes we did them like straight things, right? But actually, if you look from the airplane, you see how the river goes. It takes all sorts of twists and turns and ups and downs, right? So,
yeah, it becomes
this
smooth.
paradoxical thing, again, don't try and understand it with the mind guys out there. It's more feel it, feel it, feel it, feel it. How does that feel? How does it feel to moment being spontaneous right action, where the thought matches the word, matches the deed. This is a great teaching of any great being, which is the integrity, walking one's talk. The thought matching the word, matching the deed. Not just in spiritual places. Everything is spiritual. Not just when I'm in front of my guru or I'm, on a radio show, being the teacher or being the healer, but at all times. And
Right.
when we aren't, not judging ourselves, not beating ourselves up, but just being the observer of, here goes my conditioning again, and I told a little fib, or I tried to compete with that situation, I tried to judge that, whatever. And as we observe that and allow it, it begins to dissolve, and we slip back and come into the wisdom of our moment-to-moment beingness. It is so simple. It is so beautiful.
Right.
People say to me, "Oh, you're so busy," and or people say, "Oh, you just sit on the patch. You're doing nothing." She's doing nothing. She's lazy. She does nothing. But the truth is, it's neither nor. Neither am I so busy that I'm going crazy, nor am I just sitting there doing nothing. I'm doing both, and it's not a doingness; it's a beingness.
Right.
Yeah. When because I think that part that Tom read is so important, and the reason why, because it really helps to understand what love is, because we've attached so many things to love. For example, love hurts, and it's like love doesn't hurt. Jealousy hurts. Betrayal hurts. Codependence, ego hurts. Yeah, so it's like that's not love, but we have attached it to it. And I'm wondering, like, from your point of view of definition, what is, this unconditional love?
Well, unconditional love is that energy that doesn't even see separation, It's that oneness energy. At the center, as we remember that oneness energy, then who is forgiving who? There are no subjects and objects in that space. So everything we meet is the beloved, as Rumi would say, as the Sufis would say. Everything is the beloved. And then you say, well, that's ridiculous. Hitler comes in front of me and he's not my beloved, But at the center, as Babaji says, every sinner has a future and every saint has a past, And so in that space at the center, we can hold that energy of oneness. That's why my heart is always wishing to serve and be there and put my last pennies down or my energy or whatever it takes to help end suffering in the world and suffering within me first and foremost, as in being the observer of that suffering in my case, because I have that little bit of wisdom to understand that suffering is also an illusion. And I can just watch it. And if I watch it, it dissolves, because the mind suffers, the soul never suffers.
Right.
And so Love is all embracing, it's all encompassing, it's inclusive, it allows, it does not judge, but it learns, but it does say no. It doesn't mean that it's just going to be a doormat, Babaji can be extremely fierce, he can cut, he can destroy. And on the other hand, he teaches through the great energy of humor. So we can sow little seeds sometimes, like with our family or whatever, where, you're banging your head, you love them, but the behavior is so crazy or whatever. Just sow little seeds, and in the end, always try and bring it to harmony, Don't try and take revenge on the other person or whatever, because then love goes flying out the window, Then you're matching that lower frequency immediately. So it's like, how can we bring the higher frequency? And the only way really is to hold that frequency within ourselves. And as I say, that's not always saying yes to everything, which is really well explained in the Divine Mother Speaks book. Tom, how did you find the energy of the Divine Mother Speaks book?
It was that actually.
Because the goddess energy is very important right now, and Babaji is the Divine Mother and the Divine Father both. He carries both energies.
It actually did help to kind of tap me more into that the divine feminine energy a little bit. I suppose it grew my divine feminine energy. Best way for me to describe it.
And how did it help you with your heart energy? Because it's it's all about heart.
The compassion side of things.
Right. For yourself?
That's probably what I've noted has grown the most here recently is that side of my heart has being able to find the balance in the compassion with that loving detachment.
What about compassion for yourself?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. I've actually I've been able to completely forgive myself for anything and everything. I'm taking my steps, one step at a time forward. And, I understand, like you said there earlier, each sinner has a future and each saint has a past, right? And I'm coming from that perspective in my life now, where I know that there's nothing I can do about what's behind me, and everything I can do about what's in front of me. So I'm going to live right now with that vision of the future in my mind's eye, and having that, the focus there is that love, joy, bliss, and harmony. And harmony is the big one.
Babaji says that so much. I am harmony. I am harmony. I am harmony.
Yes.
The harmony of the universe. Universe.
Now, I want to step back. You mentioned that about thought, word, and deed, when they are the same.
They match each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's such an important point. Question I have on that: if a person were to take and practice and focus on the word and the deed, do you think that the thought falls in line with that?
Yes. So most of us tend to be more from as we think, so we become.
Right.
And that's one way of being. But if we can just spontaneously act from a state of no mind, then the words and the deeds come up. But that's more the perspective of most of the enlightened ones. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because the enlightened ones, they're not thinking. When I'm channeling or speaking right now I've got there are no lights in my room, and I'm in an inner space. So I don't think the answer as you ask it. I feel the answer.
Right.
And so the words come from energy rather than thoughts. Now, thought is also an energy, but it's using the left hemisphere of the brain, whereas when we come from that other energy, it's the right and left hemisphere of the brain. And if right now our listeners and whoever is going to use the mind to interpret what I'm saying, then you're going to be lost. But if you use just your nothingness energy, your energy of listening and receiving and feeling, then you might you might get this epiphany or an aha moment. I don't know. Ramon, are you getting anything from this?
Absolutely. I think
I'm
that.
sorry, it takes me a minute to unmute my button. Yeah, I was just closing my eyes as you were saying that. You know, what I always find the mixing between not only your energy and where you're coming from, but I think some of the most important things is when you focus on your own energy, you find it how much easier it is to mix in with other energies, you know, which we always do natural. I mean, if you look at the lower frequency, it's probably the easiest to see. So somebody who's always angry and upset, it's easy for him to mix that energy in with the same frequency, and then, you know, there they go off arguing and fighting. But the one that doesn't get pointed out enough is when, you know, these two people walk by each other and their energies intermix, and there's a silent communication, and they may not even look at each other, but there's something there, and then they, you know, just keep walking by.
Yeah. Well, I'm noticing in this show, even compared to the last show we did together, which was only a few weeks ago or whatever, that we're even slower than we were last time. And it's so nice because both of you, unlike a lot of the people in the States, don't speak so fast, you know, and don't just come up with question after question without creating a space for the answer, or even a space as you ask the question for the question, you know?
Right.
And today is just like this, you know, maybe some might find it even boring, you know, listening to this show, but I mean, in terms of energy, I'm just really in that space of nothingness right now, and it's just amazing that you guys are able to be slowing down at this pace, because what happens when we do that is that everything becomes instantaneous. And then answering Tom's question on that, you know, then it really does become the word and the action, you know, just happen spontaneously and synergistically, moment to moment.
Yeah, sorry, Tom. Sometimes it becomes a little too much because everybody becomes so relaxed. And then it's like,
so we'll let Tom jump in now with another question. Then ground us, Tom. Ground us. I need some grounding. Right now.
I was just going to comment some more on the thought, word, and deed thing. That
yeah.
You know, there are several people that I'm working with that this is something that's really on the table for them right now, is getting the thoughts to match the word and the deed, because they consciously, and there's a place, a knowingness within them that knows that what they're working for is right. They're going the right direction on their path, and there's a deep concern with them, and it's a fear. It's a fear within that they're not going to be able to squelch those voices, those that negativity, the programming that's happened through their lives, not be able to squelch that and follow the paths to, you know, that the light, you know, however you want to term this, but there's a lot of concern out there for that they're not going to be able to squelch that. And I think that, and I feel that what you've said about it here in the last 30 minutes here has been absolutely some amazing stuff for them, and that they altered it. So it's good stuff.
Well, one of the things to remember is that this right and wrong thing is so left hemispheric. It is so 3D paradigm. It is so polarity consciousness, and the mind. It is the mind. And this energy is no longer going to be able to survive in this current frequency of the heart. The heart has a very high electromagnetic vibration. The mind is very, very limited. It makes something right and makes something wrong. There is no such thing as a right and wrong on the path. And there is no goal on the path. The way is the goal. Now, everybody's heard this and knows it intellectually. But then we forget that when it comes to making decisions. So, there is a feelingness about, okay, I've got two paths right now. Which one do I choose? But the truth is, in the end, even whichever one you choose, firstly, in the multidimensional realm, the others are still happening. They're also going to happen in parallel worlds. And that you're going to learn. We're going to learn one way or another, no matter which way we choose. And then in that other parallel reality or realities, we're learning from the other choices.
Yeah.
And that ultimately it's all malleable, it's all multi-dimensional, it's all not solid or linear, and ultimately nothing is actually happening. Now that's the hardest part to get one.
with that, I got to cut you off here. We're going to our last break here, guys. So you're listening to Rashmi Khilnani with Tom and Ramon on the 100th Monkey Radio on the Truth Frequency Radio Network, and we'll see you guys after this break.
Only the free can tell the truth, then the truth can set you free. Only the free can tell the truth, then the truth can set you free.
It is now time to come out of the cacophony of Kali Yuga, the age of ignorance and darkness, the age of extreme materialism and separation. It is time to embrace the holy harmonics of being a whole and complete integrated energy field of beingness, which creates an incredible melody through the spheres within manifest reality. If you see yourself as part of the organic wholeness of a unified field of consciousness, you can create harmonic realities. That's out of Shiva Speaks in the I Am Harmony chapter. And, that's something else that's really on the table for people right now is learning how to and understanding how the process works, or not necessarily how it works, but the truth of manifestation in our lives, the truth of the fact that we do create our realities around us. And it's something that's definitely coming online with people right now. Don't you think, Rashmi?
Definitely. There's like this, in Sanskrit we call it Jagrati, the great inner illumination. It's just so happening for many, many now, moment to moment. And it's, a lot of it is happening through suffering, through things suddenly ending. And then the relief of that as well,
Right.
Because the mind will go through its conundrums of, oh God, and habit and conditioning. But then very often when there's that sudden destruction of something, there's very often followed by a massive relief or joy, or quickly moving into a new pattern sometimes as well of something that fits and works so much better in the moment. So the whole energy is about trusting and relaxing, really,
It seems like, just from what I'm witnessing others go through in their initial wake-up processes, I went through the proverbial 2x4 wake-up upside my head, and it was extremely intense for a couple of years for me. And now when I look out and I see others that are going through a similar process, coming out of the absolute third-dimensional, inside-the-box mentality into an expansive mind and heart, that opening process, or the 2x4s that people are getting hit with now, the process is like wham, you're awake. Oh, sorry about slapping in the mic. But wham, you're awake, and then it's like I don't know. The process seems to be going so much faster for people than it used to in the past. Generally, I would guess.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, we have the photonic energy, the solar flares. We've got this inner energy of the you know, that's why the Shiva energy is so important. It's the energy of the destruction of that which no longer works. It's the, you know, the changing of the pattern to bring in this new harmonic, and it's the time for the harmonics to be harmonious now, for cooperation, for love, for a golden age. And so it is going to happen. And, you know, Babaji's talked about Mahakranti many times in that last incarnation as Hare Khan Baba. Maha means great, Kranti means the inner war. So even though it's on the outside with the earth changes and so on, it's really the inner for each and every one of us, you know.
Right.
And these shifts are coming. And as we, you know, hold that frequency, we you know, wherever we move, we help others to have this permission to create frequencies. As Ramon was sharing, two people talking, and your vibration is raised if the frequency is, you know, a nice, loving, sharing frequency. And one doesn't even have to interact, but it affects the ethers. It creates a vibration across the globe. And so I would say that as I'm observing, you know, from listening to many of the teachers out there on YouTube and Facebook, and there are so many amazing teachers, Jim Self and Tom Lesher is doing good work, and Lila Mace is getting so much out, and you guys, and so many amazing people are becoming, you know, doing so many different creative ways in which we are communicating and sharing. But, you know, I would say for everybody to make it less mental and less intellectual, less phonetic, less, you know, I can get more and more information, how many more books can I read, how many more shows can I do? Well, you know, if the guidance is that, well, then you go for it. But it's not always about more, you know?
Right.
You know, sometimes just a little bit of peace and quiet, like maybe Tom just spending the day on the beach, can affect the whole of creation in a much deeper way than, and I'm not saying either or, than going out there and, you know, shifting the planet through various actions or whatever, you know? It depends on the moment. And so Babaji had his stick and he would go all over India. He did actually move around quite fast and everywhere in that short span on Earth in that time. But on the other hand, he would just sit there eating cucumbers or just, you know, doing nothing as well, you know? And that's the energy that we've all been taught is bad in this current time because, you know, it's all about the rat race and winning and losing and competing.
Right.
And we bring that into spirituality, you know, and that's the worst part when I see it in the spiritual so-called realms, you know. When I met some of these, you know, top spiritual teachers with their huge entourages, and, you know, they're teaching about the heart, for example, and you don't feel the heart frequency in them. They're great messengers, but they may not carry that frequency.
Right.
And you might find that just in the taxi driver or in the person next door. So, you know, it's so important to not just give our power away to those outer things, to anybody or anything. You know, if this show helps you, well then, you know, treat it as a meditation and be inspired and go create for yourself. You know, this time of having huge entourages is going to come to an end. You know, I'm not saying, you know, that people shouldn't get what they can from things, but as far as I'm concerned as a teacher, I say to people, make me obsolete as soon as possible as the teacher. Then we can be friends or we can celebrate. You know? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. You know, this from the beginning of the segment reminds me of, and I told Tom this story, and I'll tell it really briefly, but basically, a friend of mine, she just recently gave birth, like maybe 3 weeks ago. And for her, you know, speaking of the feminine energy, she had just the right doctors there and the right friends there. And she said it was such a pleasure to give birth, and it wasn't a painful thing. That she realized that birth didn't have to be painful. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, because for her, I saw that she shifted her reality. And what she accomplished, giving birth is a huge accomplishment. But I think what she accomplished for her personally was quite amazing. She's sitting here. She was telling me the story over Skype because she lives back in New York. And I was just so amazed. And, I'm not telling the story correct because it's a pretty long story, but just the amazement of it, and how she felt during the whole process. And, this is the main point I wanted to bring up, how she spontaneous started chanting. And I was like, what were you chanting? And she said, just whatever came up. And her Abdullah, which is like a midwife, would start chanting back whatever she was chanting. And she said that kind of like re-echoing thing just really brought in this energy that she was just, amazed by the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, sound plays a huge role, which is why the mantra and the chanting and the kirtan and music is so important.
Right.
And even our silence carries inaudible sound. Our frequency carries sound. Our resonance carries sound. Our nothingness energy carries vibration. I know that sounds crazy, actually.
No, when I started seeing that especially when, I would think about things and have these thoughts and everything, and I wouldn't really see it reflected too strongly out into the world, but I came to a point where I started noticing that my voice, when I spoke something audibly into the universe, it seemed to carry a much stronger energy, and it reflected faster in the world around me than what the thoughts or the prayers, the inner stuff, how that reflected in the world around me. I saw that it felt like there was, and during this process, I'm being taught by myself, I guess is the best way to describe it, on how the difference of energy and how it's projected into the universe with the intention behind it. When there's an added intention that's added in there when it's vocalized, which charges that energy into a higher state. And
manifest.
Yes.
Manifest, yeah.
I actually went into quite a bit of fear about my own voice and I was extremely quiet for quite a while because I was like, oh my God, I don't want to say the wrong thing, I want to get everything out here. I want it to be right, the best and highest good, and all that stuff. And then what I finally got out of that fear mode and just said, I'll screw this. I'm going to trust the universe that I'm going to do the best and highest good because that's my intention in the first place, and went forward. But I did go through quite a process where I was like very cautious with my words. And I'm still cautious with my words. I try to be very thoughtful with what I put out there. Because my intention is to do no harm. And
maybe sometimes try, the way that I described earlier, which is let it be spontaneous and just be an empty channel and let it come through, which is more the feminine energy,
Oh, right, yes.
Which you carry anyways, but and for Ramon the opposite, to sometimes maybe bring that buddhi mind, which is what Tom uses, the higher discernment, and focus through speaking. Because with Ramon, it's much more that energy of. Am I right, Ramon?
Yeah.
That you tend to speak from the nothingness energy. It just comes through. You don't actually decide what that is going to be.
Actually, it's funny story. A friend of mine had said, like, you don't think when you talk, do you? And I said, no, I don't. And then when she, I didn't say anything negative, but for some reason, I stroked her the wrong way, and she got really upset and didn't talk to me for several weeks. Like maybe 7 years ago. But I started to realize, when that happened, it wasn't me. When I said that to her, I was reflecting. I kind of felt like I was reflecting back something she was going through. And I know like what she went through, but I felt that the picture of the person that had did something to her had been like brought right into her face. And I think that's what got her so upset.
So for our next show, it'll be really interesting if Ramon brings in that focused energy and Tom brings in the not thinking energy of, the higher mind. Because it's not just, you're not using your, like the normal mindless state, Tom, but it's just that it still has that masculine focused energy, of, as you say, you want it to come out. Right? And it has a lot of power, it does. It's like a laser, really,
It happens. It happens, trust me. I call it getting plugged in when I just, I get plugged into the universe and it just flows.
That's it. And allow that a bit more because you have that too in you. And so this should really help our listeners because the sound, the voice really carries resonance and frequency, and the silence carries a frequency. And the two together are very amazing, and we can just flow now with these energies, and just allow ourselves a little bit to let the mind take a slight back seat and be the detached witness as the flow happens, because I said people like Babaji, the beings definitely weren't thinking about what they were going to say, definitely not. There was no, it's a state of no mind.
Right.
And from that state, the body moves, it speaks, it sits, it lives, it dies. It even gets disease, But they are not the disease, they're not the body, they're not the name, they're not any of it. And it's this neti energy which is in Buddha Speaks to the Buddha nature within. Neither this nor that. It's also in the Shiva Speaks book, actually. Either you say, I am everything, or you say, I am nothing. I'm neither this nor that. And of the two parts in yoga, the one that's tougher is, guess which one?
I'm nothing.
No. The I am everything part is tougher. The easier way to enlightenment is saying neti, which is I'm neither this nor that. Because to say I'm everything means we are everything, including heaven, hell, the whole thing.
Right.
So that's actually the harder part. So the easier part is, I'm not a body, I'm not a name. And then that makes people get very literal and upset, and oh my God, I've lost so many students because of that. I really don't care. But the thing is that it isn't literal, it's like on the periphery you can be the name, you can be the body, you can be the personality, you can be a radio show host, whatever. But at this core, none of that is happening. We were never born, we never died, nothing happened.
Right.
That's the core. And if we connect to that core strongly, then my goodness, nothing can shift us or shake us or upset us, not even death.
Right.
And that's the power of the great beings. And all they're showing us is that we are the same. That's all Jesus came to show. He didn't came to show that we're sinners. He came to show us that we were immortal physical beings, right, and that we could walk the waters and we could turn wine into, water into wine. I prefer to turn it into Coca-Cola sometimes. I hate to say that, but I do like a bit of Coca-Cola. And people will say, oh, you're a New Ager and you like Coca-Cola. So all these, isms and judgments and definitions, they're not going to work in this new frequency.
Right.
Because it is, having said I'm neither this nor that, then the paradox kicks in. And then the paradox is that one is everything.
Right. Well, I've always embodied that in a sense my whole life, because my attitude's always been no matter what, in the end it's all right. It's okay. In the end, it's okay. So it doesn't matter. Everything that happens up till then, no matter. Doesn't matter. So I've always had that, carefree, call it, or worry-free attitude, kind of the worry-free attitude.
That's a key, this trusting and relaxing, because when I say to Babaji, you've got me doing so much stuff, and, I don't know whether I'm coming or going. And then he goes, you just be, and I'll do it through you, In other words, there is no him, and there is no me, and there is no separation. But it's just that energy of, the beingness, and then the amazing stuff that comes through one, like some of these people that are able to do so much and hardly sleep and whatnot. Because they're in that energy of the nothingness. They're in that energy of, you just get out of your own way.
Right.
And stop the pushing and striving and making happen. That's the energy of the age of Pisces. The current energy is the feminine. It allows, it creates a space within that space. As Ramon shared, the baby was born and there was no pain. And that's the precise energy that Babaji is pushing for. That the Shiva energy, and this energy is archetypal, it's within each and every one of us. If people think Babaji is a body, they're missing the boat. There's all these Babaji devotees out there in the Western world particularly that think that Babaji is a body. It's not true. He isn't a body, and nor are we ultimately. So that effortless birthing energy comes from effortlessly allowing and watching the jam jar burst. Because we are skies upon skies, so why insist that I am a jam jar? And I'm only the space and the sky within the jam jar. No. I've got this goddess Hathor energy, which is skies upon skies upon skies. And it's time to be unlimited now. And so the energy of the universe is pushing for that. So go with it, enjoy it, and there's no place to reach. There's no goal to reach. There's no fifth. We already are everything we want to be. All we have to do actually is dump stuff. We've got to get into this neti-neti. And the neti-neti is really good, neither this nor that, because it gets rid of all the conditioning. That my father died at X age, and that's the age I'm going to die. And all those beliefs and ideas, that's what's holding us back, is it not?
Right. Yeah, when I get into that zero spot point, that no mind spot when in my meditations and when I do readings and stuff, I go into that place, and I like I mentioned earlier, I'm in constant awe of this universe, and even more so when I plug into that zero point and stuff comes through, and it just sometimes it absolutely just amazes me what comes.
That's it.
And,
that wonder of a child, that, oh my God, wow.
Yes.
Each minute, the I am, that I'm alive. There is this. That's the only root truth of reality, is this I am, this I amness. Because without the I am, there is no world, and there is no one world. There are worlds upon worlds. Each person's world is a different world.
Right.
Each one's perception is a different perception, and the scientists know that as we perceive, so does the world happen. Not the other way around,
Right.
So, but that's why Babaji says, think your own thoughts, be your own person, don't lean on the borrowed staff of another. And he says, dare, and dare some more. And that's what the child does, they're in so much wonder, moment to moment. That is just so beautiful. That is the energy of this now time, is the divine child and the divine mother, the divine goddess energy. That is the energy. Not this pushing, striving, making happen, I've got to reach a goal. There's no goal, All those great people, the great pop stars, all these people that made all the money. Myself, at the age of 32, I just was devastated, because how many beds can you sleep in? How much money can you have? How much, power, and how many celebs can you meet? I was bored out of my brain. Whereas now, each moment is awesome, because, and when boredom slips in, then I know I have more work to do. Because that's my mind coming in. And what is the work? The work is just to drop the mind. As soon as I drop the mind, then that blue-rich view I'm seeing out of my window isn't something I've seen a million times. It's new moment to moment.
Right.
Right. And whatever happens is okay. It's all okay, because it's just, it's all just such a miracle anyways, And the simplicity is so important. But people feel, that they're going to take their mortgages with them into enlightenment. They're going to take, their families. Maybe the family will go, maybe it won't go. We have to let everybody be at their pace. And it's not our job to go and fix everybody.
Right.
I've written a
Sure.
book. Maybe 2 people will read it, maybe 2 million people will read it, maybe nobody will read it. The joy was the creation and being in this awesome energy
Right.
and the amplification of that energy and the fact that I have a solid book that I helped to co-create and the journey and how it took me to Hawaii and the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia and New Delhi and Leonard and all of that, And then I can drop it as well. I don't have to be so it's not my book.
Right.
There is no such thing. So if we just co-create like that, like children, then there is so much joy moment to moment.
Well, we've got just over 2 minutes left, and I'd like you to share with our listeners where they can pick up your books, number one, and what you've got coming up in the future is, do we have another book coming, do you feel?
Well, at the moment, I feel like I'm going to have a little break, perhaps, and continue doing a lot of radio, because I feel radio is an amazing way that is helping many to reconnect and to have some simple tools and energy, where they can just switch off the lights and listen and connect. So there will probably be another book called Rashmi Speaks.
There you go.
And my story. And
that's
I've got
funny because-
to complete I God, the film.
It's funny because I do a little YouTube videos that I call Tom Speaks.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's lovely. So, yeah, it's RashmiKhilnani.com, Facebook, and author Rashmi Khilnani on Facebook, and a page for each of the books. And, you can download Shiva Speaks until it comes out in Jan. But the Divine Mother Speaks is also very important. And it was the first book that Babaji asked me to channel because this Divine Mother Goddess energy is so important. And I hope I meet Ramon and Tom sometimes in India and in England, and we do more shows together, and I hope that this show is helping people to have the courage to get into this energy of just being and allowing and receiving, and then it'll all come effortlessly and easily, from that sense of well-being, and as Tom shared, awe, and as Ramon shared, this joyful, pleasurable giving birth. As opposed to, I'm dying, I'm going to give it all up.
Well, I want to thank
Love you guys.
I want to thank you so much for joining us, and I want to thank everybody for listening. Oh, man. Good stuff, Rashmi. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Many, many blessings. Namaste.
Namaste. And I want to thank everybody out there, and remember, you can check out our website at www.thehundredthmonkeyradio.com. And our guest tonight was Rashmi Khilnani, and you can get her at RashmiKhilnani.com also. Namaste, guys. Condemnation without investigation is the height of ignorance.
I love you tonight, and you can.
I don't care about what you heard while the rumors are flying. Don't believe